All right, welcome back to another episode of Long Time Good Time. I'm your host Terry and my co-host Abrisha,
Been married 16 years. I'm the long time.
and I am chronically single. I'm the good time. So, speaking of a good time, we're gonna start off with Michael. I personally still see a bunch of posts about this, so I know it's been out for a minute and all that, but people still talking about it. I know some people personally that just saw it this week. And so it's still doing this thing. I think in the third week, it went back to number one in the box office. So people are getting a way to it. The black community is coming out. So I think it's still relevant. So I figured since we both saw it, we could talk about our thoughts on it. And then we
hmm
could respond to some of the criticisms, whether we agree or not. So I saw it three times personally.
I
Uh,
only saw it once. I would have saw it twice, but I had to reschedule.
So, what was your thoughts on the movie in general?
My thoughts on the movie in general is that it was paced pretty fast, and I mean, I listening to Mike in any moment is good to me. So the
Hmm.
fact that it's basically like a concert almost, because I'm just in there singing my little heart out, mouthing the words, like trying to be audible, but it was a good time for me. But then knowing like learning about a lot of the stuff that had to be redacted or removed, or a lot of how much editing they had to do for the film, I was like, all right, respect, respect, respect. But yeah, I was just kind of like, okay, hold on, wait, I just blinked. How we already, are we already at adulthood? What's going
And
on?
it's like I think it's a little less than 2.5 hours. So you thought it was fast. You wanted more, even with that.
No, I felt the length. Like I knew I was in the theater for a while, but I thought the first film would trail his childhood, I guess, a bit more.
Mm.
I felt like we got to like teenage, thriller and bad Mike so fast. I was like, damn, okay, all right, you know.
Yeah.
They were like, yeah, he had some brothers and stuff. And then all right, now it's all about Michael. So I was like,
I
oh shit. All right.
I think this movie pointed out a lot of interesting things, but one thing music biopics in general at least show me is that for the casual, really any audience, that the pacing of a movie and the length of it isn't the same as like the chronological events of the person. So, like you
hmm
said, while you could feel, hey, this is a long movie, or I've been here for a while, you could still feel like we rushing because
Exactly. Yeah.
you know the events that happen, and you like, dang, we missed a lot of stuff.
I also thought it was very interesting at how many people like are such mega fans, or people who were Michael adjacent. Maybe they were dancers or bodyguards or this or that. There's been so much, not them saying that the movie was like a lie, but basically them alluding to like they know that this is a movie from someone else's point of view, you know
Yeah.
that the movie is it's very telling that this movie is from like one of the brothers' point of view, and not like the actual stuff that Mike might have, the people who are a little bit closer to him would have thought. So I thought that was interesting. But in all of that, and all that it is, I still think it was like a great homage to him. Like the amount of work that his nephew
Mhm.
put in for this movie, as a performer myself, I honor that. Hours and hours and hours and hours of dancing and performing and looking at facial expressions and hand gestures and shoulders, and like it takes a lot to mimic somebody, um and do it well. um and then I also heard that he got permission to like read some of his uncle's journals and stuff to kind of make him a little more in tune with maybe his uncle's thoughts or what type of person he was. I think like it was a great honoring to his uncle, and to put into that much work. Like anybody who's going to give flack to that can kick rocks. Like the boy put in work.
Yeah, I think for me the biggest praise I could give is to the performance of Jafar. I said it the first
Hmm.
time that I think really nothing I could see could surpass that as the best performance of the year. And a lot of people last year when it was Michael B. Jordan versus Timothy Chalamet, a lot of people was talking about, oh, such and such could nobody else could play this role, which I don't consider that in terms of grading a performance for Oscars, but if that's what we doing, nobody could have did this other than Jafar. I mean,
I don't think so.
it's God given genetics, but also work he
That he
put
just
into it.
as a just like any adoring niece or nephew, he really enjoyed his uncle's career. You know what I'm saying? Like he really
Yeah,
thought he was a cool guy. You know, that was his uncle. So just the same way I have fond memories of my uncles pulling up on their motorcycles and giving us a ride around the block, like they're kings in our mind. You know what I mean?
yeah,
His just happened to be the actual king of pop. So
yeah.
he had a lot of glory to gaze at, you know, in his youth coming up and seeing this, you know, being with Michael being in his family and stuff. So
And I just think like you got the performer, I don't know his name, that the young Michael, I thought he was excellent. He
hmm
really got the mannerisms, he got all that down. And then Jafar did excellent. So and then even outside of him, the recreations of the performances just top notch. And yeah, like you said, an homage. I called it a celebration of Michael, and on that alone I enjoyed it all three times. It was moving. It just, and it's been a while. Like I think a lot
hmm
of us that like we were there for it all, for Mike to pass and all that. At least for
hmm
me, I don't think of it as, almost 20 years ago, but it is. And so,
right. Because then I would
but
have to acknowledge that I graduated high school 20 years ago, which
yeah.
I'm definitely not going to do.
So that celebration is very timely, is earned, and a lot of people digging back into the Mike legacy and all that. And
Or
so it
him
was,
topping the charts,
yeah.
being in the grave how many years and topping the charts again.
I just think when you look at all that happened with this production, and to me, and I know Hollywood hates this, but for me, I feel like titles have fell off. They really should have called this Michael versus Joe. If they would have called it that, I think we
Hmm.
have a different conversation, because they reframed the whole movie into, because this wasn't the original movie, so they reframed it into, hey, this is Mike separating from Joe
Himself
and the
from, yes, from his
family
father.
to become his own thing. And I think they did a great job at
Hmm.
molding the movie into that, but they didn't sell that as this is what the movie is, because it wasn't supposed to be. But if you rebranded it to, hey,
Yeah.
Michael Jackson versus Joe Jackson or whatever, like, you could watch this movie with a different view, at least because me seeing it three times, I'm like, that's what the movie is. That's the through line of the story.
Yeah.
Is how does Mike find the strength to separate and become his own person to reach the levels that he reached?
Speaking of Joe, it's true. A few things. One, I really guard myself from watching um videos of us being harmed. And even though I know that Joe was known for whooping ass, I still wasn't ready for the ass whooping because I just don't watch stuff like that. I mean, I love a good street fight or something on a video. You know, I love a good hood
Yeah,
fight, but like, I purposefully don't watch videos of people being harmed. So it had been a minute since I've seen like a person being harmed in that way, and then obviously it's a child. So I was like, oh, like I know this is here, but like still, I don't know why I felt it so jarring. And then two, although Coleman Domingo did a phenomenal job, I saw someone write a really good write up that I found very interesting about um, not to Coleman's demise. He did a great job, but
Yeah.
to the more so of how they type. It's almost like they typecast Joe. They made him very like unilateral, like very linear. Like that was just one thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
People wanted him a little bit more humanized because obviously, no matter how much we think that he did to these children, none of them ever had, ill will towards him or wanted him to die or wished him dead or even did him harm, once they had the means. You know what I'm saying? Like there, so that shows you that even in all his flaws, there was a human nature behind him that they felt was lacking in the movie. They felt that the movie kind of fell into that, we have like the coon and the Sambo and they almost caricaturized Joe in this movie. Like, I'm just here to make money and get my boys out the hood, hippity hoppity hoppity do. Like he had, but seriously. So I thought the write up from the person was phenomenal, and I really took to it because obviously, as a person who studied theater, we talk about those characters, minstrel shows, going into the coon area, or what that meant, the Sammo, the Mammy, a lot of our breakout ways into getting into films, the buck, all of these different things that Black folks sometimes get typecast into, like even if it's modern, how you still see those like lackluster character building or like not development, but I don't know what I'm trying to say, but you just kind of just see where they didn't really give the character much thought outside of these few facts. We see that happen quite often, and that's where these titles come from, where you don't take a deeper dive into who that person actually was. So I thought Coleman Domingo did a great job as Joe, but I also could hear really how they didn't humanize him as much as they could have. Um, yeah.
Yeah. It's funny. I've heard a lot of different conflicting thoughts about Joe. A lot of people early on, especially, was saying that they made him seem nice and like too like friendly, basically like, oh no, so Joe was just a good guy. And to hear you say that, but I've heard other people say similar, like I heard somebody say it was scary. So it was just like a lot of people have different opinions on Joe. I was like, I never felt like he was nice at all. But some people were saying they didn't go deep enough into what he did to them. And I'm like, look, at the end of the day, you
I'm like, well, we're
spend.
not coming to watch a trauma film. We're not about to watch them get beat up and slapped up and boxed up. Like, we know it existed.
But I just think it's decades to cover, plus all the stuff they cut out. So I just, there's so much to say about this movie because there was a whole movie prior to them reshooting it. And obviously, that's a lot of time to cover. And so um, I think you already kind of hit on this, what I was going to bring up. But I think the biggest criticism is that Mike was kind of one note as well, and that he seemed too perfect, that they didn't really get into the complexity of things. But we know that's a mixture of legal things, but then also on
Mm-hmm.
top of that, it is the family that kind of has the say so with
Yeah.
what it
And I
is.
also know that a lot of people who are big Mike fans had beef with what's the white character name that kind of saved him from the record label to help him go solo. They said that they painted him way too good. Like Mike didn't even like that nigga at the end of the day. So,
Yeah.
and maybe we'll see that in the future movies, the falling out of, you know,
I mean, he was
them.
he was a producer on the movie as well.
hmm So of course, you're gonna paint yourself.
Yep.
It gave me white savior. I ain't like it. I never like when a solo white person comes in. It was giving blindside, and I'm like, no, thank you.
I didn't honestly. I didn't feel any of that. I didn't feel like his character because it's Miles Teller. So, who, if you into movies, you know him. he wasn't in there a lot. I just felt
Hmm.
like they made it I think everything was simple, and I
Yeah,
do.
they simplified things, but what can you do when someone had a career that long? You can't get into all the nitty gritty. We'll be on Michael 38 if we tried to do that.
Yeah, and that's part of what I was gonna say. I'm like, it's just it's a lot to cover, and every biopic's not the same. I think some people treat it like every biopic's supposed to be a documentary. Some are just really specific. And this one, I feel like should have been specific, even though you're covering a
Well,
lot.
they tried. Like they said, there was so much legal stuff that happened. You got the pulling of his sister pulling out and not wanting her likeness used. Diane Ross likeness not being wanting to be used. A few other people, they had whole roles cut out.
Now
So
I get
even
that. I just think if I'm reconfiguring, which yeah, you already kind of shot it, you're on a deadline. My pivot instead of Mike versus Joe, which I think works, and I like the movie. My pivot would have been let's really deep dive onto how he made certain hits.
mhm.
And because all that is really montage about him making these songs and videos, and
Yeah.
hopefully really zoom instead of zooming in on Mike versus Joe. Because yeah, at the end of the day, a lot of people that had criticism, they cited the American Dream, where we saw a lot about Joe. So it's out there. So I would say, okay, let's skip a little more on that part and let's focus more on the hits and really make it a concert movie. I think it was a good movie already, but
Mhm.
I would have focused in on like, okay, really how did we come up with these songs? Really, how did we come up with this video and still
But
showcase your
speaking
bar?
of, with how many of his hits they used, and I know that Mike's had a career way past, but as far as like his iconic career of songs, I was surprised at how many of the songs were in this first movie. You're telling me you got like 4 or 5 other movies coming after this, and you've already used, 2 decades worth of his
Nah, it ain't 4 or 5. It's
music.
probably it's gonna be one maybe. The
Yeah,
whole thing was like if this made money, they was gonna make a sequel, and that's probably gonna be it.
we'll see. Yeah, 'cause I'm like, let us know. 'Cause I'm like, either you didn't use the catalog.
Yeah.
Um, then there was so much drama around this movie. Um, so people, I love to just see the snarky stuff that people say online, whether it be a whole truth or not. If it's funny, it's funny. But somebody had also, took some shots at Jermaine, basically saying, the people who have their own money, pulled out, the ones who have to rely on the estate are the ones who are all in
Hmm.
for it and stuff like that. And I'm like, I hear y'all, but also at the same time, yeah, if I'm the nigga relying on the state to make sure my family still eats, shit, make the goddamn make the goddamn movie. Lie these kids up. You know what I'm saying? Y'all
Yeah.
act like y'all would not be doing the same thing. If that was your bread and butter, you would be making sure that estate was taken care of too, just like anybody else's family in the estates, whether it's Prince or Marvin Gaye or whoever else got estates out here that people are still holding on to and taking care of. Like that's just what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
But they was giving
It's
him hell behind.
there's so much to say about this that we could dive into, but just want to give a quick, touch on it since that that is a cultural touch point going on right now.
Mhm.
All right, so let's move over into the dating stuff. So the topic of the day is people dating people with kids. Now, I could tell you how this all started, and we'll start there, and then we'll move into the other part of it. So
Okay.
this started with a discussion about dating apps in particular, where I was talking to a friend. Me personally, I just think it's weird when people are on dating app, or I guess women or whatever, when they're on dating apps, and they pregnant, and it's just a little weird to me.
Yeah, that's absolutely wild.
So the person that I was talking to, my friend, we had almost a whole falling out over that, and like, cause so her response was like, why are you telling this woman what to do with her body? She's free to do whatever, yada yada yada. And my whole thing was, I wasn't telling anybody to do anything. I was just, that was just my thoughts. Like, that was the discussion. So I had talked to a few people about it,
And telling
and
anybody to do anything. Ain't nobody telling nobody to do nothing. But you need to get your affairs in order. That's just a regular thought. You
so
have a baby on the way, and your priority as you're preparing for that baby is to be dating.
so
Me
I
personally, hell no. I'm gonna be focusing on other stuff. But hey,
so I was talking to a few people, and they couldn't really come to a strong conclusion on how they felt about it one way or the other. But yeah, at the end of the day, kind of like you said, that's where my mindset is at. And I again, in terms of like philosophy versus practicality, I'm not telling or forcing anybody to do anything. Philosophically, if you asking me though, I personally, Terry, I'm like, that's weird. Like, you over here, I'm looking for my last first date. I'm looking for my other person. Bruh, you have another person inside of you. Like, what are you talking about? But
this
I got a lot of pushback on that
I'm
from
not. I
other
don't. I don't give a damn. No. Okay, I'm going to judge. I'm going to judge. I'm going to judge. I'm going to judge. And like we said, this is personal preference. This is just who we are. You are living in your decisions, and as a suitor, even as a guy, your decision making skills are chopped because why are you pregnant and you worried about your for me, even as a suitor, your priorities are fucked. You should be taking care of your body, your health, getting some sleep, preparing for that child. Yo, that's where your mind should be. Postpartum, you didn't healed up, you didn't did your thing, you kind of feeling like yourself, sure. So if you were on that app and you have a newer baby, I don't care. But like pregnant, that just looks crazy to me because within 9 months, you've had a failed relationship, had a baby, and you are looking for a new partner. What does that tell you? What does that tell me about our potential? Like, I don't know. In my head, it's just red flags. It's red flags for me that you living on the wild side, and I'm not trying to be a part of it. Like,
I mean,
hell
that's how you
no.
felt too. Like, and we discussed the opposite side, like, because I think people conflate a lot of conversations all the time. So, immediately it's like, okay, well, what if it's a guy and he got a baby on the way? I'm like, that's the same thing
That's
to
the
me.
same thing.
I'm like,
I'm
yeah,
gonna be just as concerned. What do you mean? I,
like,
as a woman, even me and our other best friend Kiki, we talk about this all the time. Even if me and you are kind of dating and I find out you have kids and I never hear you talking about those kids, having those kids, being with those kids, why are you worried about me and where we going for dinner? Where the fuck is them kids at? Red flags. If I know you have kids and I never hear you talking about them kids, red flag. I'm running. What do you mean? You're a deadbeat. I'm not wanting to be. I don't want to be a company with nobody. No, it's the same red flag. No. Mm-mm.
I think we on the same page. I just wanted to make it clear, like, yeah, I feel like the same on both sides. Like, if I had a baby on the way, I would not. First of all, I would not really be worried about the dating apps, but I definitely wouldn't be out here looking for my future forever, looking for my other half, my soulmate. Like, bruh, you have a whole kid cooking right now. Like,
And
I
again, a reflection of your decisions, because what made you as a person bust a nut in a person that you didn't personally feel like was a viable partner? They don't for me, all of this stuff is just telling y'all, just telling on yourselves doing this stuff. Maybe I don't know, maybe my standard is too high, I don't know, but no, red
and
flags.
I'm with
Pew.
you. So
Ain't
we
nothing
ain't got
faster than
much.
pew. I'm out of there.
We ain't got much to discuss on that. But in the terms of known children, well, yeah, I guess even well, no, we'll say known because like if you didn't know about it, yeah, like you said, red flag. But in terms of people with children dating somebody, I get obviously you married and everything, but if you
Hmm.
were to become single again, and you have a child, what things do you think would be important in terms of like trying to date somebody while you already got a kid? And you could even take it as if they got a kid as well. Like, is that better for
Hmm.
you?
So
That
I think that, yeah, I think I'll speak to the perspective of like if the partner that I was considering had a kid. My biggest concern is going to be, what is your relationship with the child's mother? Is it tumultuous? You know, I know as a person that I am, if I love you and that child is an extension of you, I'm gonna rock with that kid and take care of that kid just like it's my kid. And well, that's just kids in general. Like I work with children and stuff like that. Like I have a big heart, so I see little people and I get excited. I'm like, hey, what do you need, baby? Let me help you out. So I think that my biggest fear with dating someone with kids is if they have a partner, if they have a parental shared parent that's tumultuous. Like, are you hell? You know what I'm saying? Are you one of those
Mhm.
ones that we all hate to see coming? Um, I don't think I would. I don't have the capacity to deal with that. If you don't have a prior partner that's easy to co-parent with, that's going to kill you for me. And I know, and that sucks because what if you're a great person, but I am not? That's a baggage that I just can't take on. A child, sure. Hell bent baby mama, no. Mm-mm.
Yeah, that's fair. And then what if it's the opposite? So you have a child, and if you taking on a potential suitor, what's going through? What's important to you?
Um, One, I'm telling that person early enough so I can see their response to the idea of sharing space.
Bingo.
Um, and not immediately, but just knowing that if this grows, that you're gonna have to share space with a small person. Um, I'm going to that family house and looking everybody in the eyes because we all know them pedophiles be having that same look. And if you got any uncles who look a little crazy, if you look a little crazy, no. You're considering. So now, if I have to, I'm marrying in my mind because I don't be just dating to have fun. I'm marrying into your family. So my thing is going to be checking your family, making sure they're well-rounded people that I even want my child to be around. You know what I'm saying? Nobody's perfect, but I can't do dysfunction. You know what I'm saying? There's got to be some love there, some support there. There's got to be some cousins there. There's got to be some family orientation. There's just got to be something
Yeah,
there. Of course, there's going to be beef since typical family stuff, but there has to be at least a strong base in your family. Because if we as a unit are going to be relying on our families for support for my daughter or whoever my kids, I need to know that your family is Gucci. So that's going to be a big thing. And then also, yeah, like just the idea of making sure that I'm with somebody who wants to have kids or something. Maybe it's not going to be just down the road, but like if you have no aspirations for children and you
Yeah.
just like me, no, because I already have a child and you have no aspirations for that. So that's, that's between a rock and a hard place. I'm not going to put myself in that situation or my child to be forced down nobody's throat either. So I guess I'm just checking for all that stuff. Like, are you actually a person who wants children? Is your family compatible or suitable, to integrate my child into? Those are the things I'm going to be looking
Yeah.
for.
And I see some well, for me, I see some women. I'm sure it's guys like, I'm sure actually most guys are like this, but I see some women that are just like, hey, I'm a full living, breathing person, separate of my child. Me being a mom has nothing to do with what we got going on. So it's a little opposite of what you're saying, where they approach it
Well, like,
as like, hey, are we good? Don't worry about my kid because I got my kid. And
right, but that might be a person. That sounds like a person who's just wanting to date and do their, and mingle, because
yeah,
that man's not getting integrated into their home. I said I would only be. I don't believe in that all just being mingling
yeah,
stuff. So I'm looking at it as if it's a potential partner that I'm going to marry.
yeah.
Um,
I think my approach, me personally, I'm not gonna sit here and talk for every man. Me personally, um, I avoid that. Just like I avoid dating with people with kids. Just kind of for everything that you said. Like to me, I guess I don't have the ability to separate it completely. Like if it's more than likely something that's just like a one time, short time thing, okay. But if it's something that's going to be deeper, I wouldn't be able to separate what we got going on from what you got, because that's part of your identity. Like you are a mom and like you got family. Not to say that I want to be in your kid's life, but whatever is impacting you on that side is going to impact me indirectly. So you can't separate, you know, everything forever. You could probably do a good job early on, but eventually, your baby's father, what's going on with your child, your extended family, your family, whatever's going on with all that is going to impact you, and is eventually going to impact what we got going on. So
exactly.
I I personally I try to stick away from that as somebody that still aspires to have kids. I don't know if this is wrong to say, but I rather start building just with our thing if that's what happened. Like,
How do you find how do you struggle with that now that we're getting older and a lot of people already our age have children? So that I feel like a good portion of the dating pool are single parents. A lot of millennials only have one child, so it's not like it's a bunch of children just running around.
yeah.
But how do you feel as a single person? Do you feel like the dating pool is very slim for you as someone who doesn't seek to be with a partner who has children?
I mean, it depends. Like we talked about before, like our generation honestly is not having they have the least amount of kids.
It's
Like
true, yeah.
we're that's what we're looking at. But at the
Thanks,
same
MTV.
time,
We saw that Teen Mom show and was like, hell no. These
where we live, or so where I live, it's a ton of single moms, but I know that's not everywhere. So it just depends on, I think, kind of where you at. But in general, my sense is there are plenty of women my age or whatever uh that don't have kids yet.
Yeah, even from our college friends, we have a lot of our friends are still single and childless.
And for me, I'm not. I mean, I'm pretty open with age. I know some people are real strict, either high or low or whatever they do. I'm pretty open with age, so like I don't confine it to like, hey, you within 2 years of me or nothing. So It just depends, but I think honestly, like I said, people younger than us, whatever within our range, or people our age, they're not having kids. Like, and not to say people don't have kids. Like I said, everybody around me in this area has kids,
Mm-hmm.
but that's not the entire country. So if you go to a big city, there's going to be so many people that don't have kids. So I don't think it's restricted at all. I don't think it's limited, but it's something that I consider. But at the same time, I'm not dating to marry. So I want to be very clear. I'm not out here hopeless romantic. That's not my ministry. So I'm more go with the flow. So I don't seek out to like, hey, this is gonna be your forever thing. So I'm more apt to get into the mix of whatever you got going on. Um, just depending on how we vibe and how that go. But
Mm.
I'm not signing up to be I'm not trying to be the nigga that stepped up or whatever the stupid stuff they saying
You don't
now.
want to get no adoption papers when the child is 17 and they take your
Hell
last
no.
name.
No.
Those videos always make me
I could be
cry.
honest. I could
I
be
want.
honest. I'm not trying to do none of that. I'm not trying to even sit here and pretend. Me personally, again, I'm speaking for me. I'm not trying to get involved. That's why I said I avoid people with kids, like for a number of reasons. But no, I'm not trying to do that. Like the same stuff you
Now,
saying. I'm not trying to be the parent. I'm not trying to. I'm not trying to do none of. I'm not trying to do none of the extra dynamics you got going
now, let me lay this on you real quick, because a lot of times we hear, let me lay this on you now, split. Okay. A lot of times we hear the word kids, we think about little kids where, that's what comes to mind. But as somebody who doesn't really care much about age, and even me, my husband's 10 years older than me. I'm attracted to older people too. Um, how would you feel about dating someone who has children closer to your age, adult children? Where you stand on that?
That's weird.
Hey, I had a
Hey, I
sister.
mean,
I had a sister, and her guy was an older guy, and she was like 24 or 23 at the time, and that man had a son that was like 19. I said, y'all could have went to high school together. You know what
I
I'm saying?
mean, dating. So when you say dating, that implies that like we cool and all that. To me, that trumps everything. If you got a connection with somebody and y'all, what we've been saying for all these episodes, you're doing what you're supposed to do, you're communicating and all that. Y'all at the end of the day, it's no different than anything we talked about, whether it's interracial relationships, whether it's opposite sex friends, it doesn't matter what we've talked about. It's y'all foundation between you two. So
Hmm.
if I'm in that type of space with somebody,
Mm.
that the rest of it is what it is. That's not going to deter me. Now, am I looking for that? Absolutely not. Is that
I
going
don't
to
know. I
turn me?
find that weird. So if I were even just like someone, we're 35. And even if because I'm sure I'd go up to 50. You know what I mean? So just imagine a 50-year-old had a child when they were 20. That child's 30. That child's only 5 years younger than me, and I'm supposed to be like, I don't know. I think that's just weird.
I think it's weird too to say it, but I don't know. I guess in my head, I'm imagining like I find out later or something. Like,
Lord have mercy.
because a lot of times people not out here giving that information, they might be like, "Oh, I got an adult kid," or "I got an older kid." And to be honest, especially, I mean, really anywhere in the world, people be having kids. People be having
Yeah.
kids early, and so you tell me you got an
I'm about to
adult
say
kid.
there's a difference too. Like if you were a teen mom and you're 16, and you're in your 30s now, and your
Yeah,
child is
That's
a
what I'm
young
saying.
adult.
We all might
Yeah.
have been in high school together. Like, so I mean, it depends. In my mind, I'm just thinking like, okay, I got an older kid, don't live with me, okay, and then I find out. But no, if they told me straight up like, hey, my kid's 32, I'd be like, yeah, no, that's weird, bro.
No, I just don't want to do it because I find adult kids to be very problematic.
I
Like,
guess.
I no, even though they're adults, you have to remember that they saw their parent as, all people for the most part, not everybody, prefers their nuclear family. Everyone has a fantasy about their parents being together in a sense.
Mm,
Not that they have to be, not even if they never were. But innately we kind of wish for that nuclear family. So sometimes like anybody else coming in feels like a replacement. Whether the
mhm.
parent was just a fling or not. But you still our brains just operate that way. We like we see whoever's dating our parent as a not a replacement per se, but like you trying to step into territory that's parental for me, and I feel like adult children just give people hell, and I don't know if I'd be wanting to deal with that. Mm-mm.
I mean, also depend on the dynamic. I'm be honest, like at least the way I think. Usually, if I see somebody says they have adult children, that's cool with me because that means you're not tied up into their life, like you free. Because a lot of times when somebody say you got a kid, the first thing that comes to my mind is their schedule. I'm like, okay, it's already tough online and trying to date this way in 2026.
Mm-hmm.
It's another challenge when they got kids and they schedule all tied up. So
It's
that's what
true.
comes to
That's the
my
biggest.
mind.
I think that's the biggest cause of breakups with people who try to date people who have children is that usually that they don't have as much time, free for the person who's interested in them.
Yeah, so if you say you got an adult child, at least where I'm at right now, it's never like, oh, that adult child is close to my age. But if it was, yeah, that'd be a hard.
Mm.
I mean, but maybe that child lives in a different part of the country. Like they don't live nowhere near. Like so, it just depends. But again, when we talk about dating, like dating for real, that is more about my connection with the person than it is everything else. But the outside of like the barrier to entry, I guess, that would be pretty high because I'd be like,
I
oh,
don't
no.
know. My mind just always goes so far. I'm always in the long term, the long haul thought. So I just could imagine trying to go to a family function, and I'm blending in with his kids or
I
so.
mean,
Like
hey,
hell no.
if you got money though, then it's all changes. I'm just playing.
It's still weird.
I'm gonna be like,
Mm-mm.
y'all, hey, y'all cut just got a little smaller, brother. Move out the no, but all right, so let's move on. AI, Allen Iverson is talk of the town the last few years, but
So
this
sick.
actually came up. I didn't see it. I don't know nothing about it, whatever. But I'll give credit where credit is due. Rich homie Quan, I guess his estate and family signed off. They released some AI video with an unreleased song of his, and people was talking about. I don't know nothing about it. I just happened to hear about it, but it got me thinking. And the question that I think everybody was talking about is like, what would you do as far as your likeness after you pass? Would you want?
Hell no.
Okay, go
Hell
ahead.
no. I even saw Meta pitch a proposal of something like that. They're wanting to be able to use the data from people who passed away page to like still keep the page alive after they've passed, and like they'll respond to you as the person would respond based off of the data that they have on that person, or how they talked or responded to people, or this, that, and the third, or if their voice notes or videos. I think that that's fucking weird, creepy.
But
And I get it.
so
There's a lot of people who do the AI thing for like pictures and stuff like that to kind of like, you see the videos where people might like have the action video of their beloved one, moving, and it's nice to see them like in a moving sense. I think that there's beautiful ways to use AI to honor something like that, but like likeness in the sense that they want to use it, hell no.
Well, I
Mm-mm.
was gonna say, to clarify, I'm talking about your family and your estate. So, which I mean, they could use
I
it in
mean, I
certain
ain't got no say
ways.
so unless I put it in my will, and you bitches better not
Well,
turn
yeah,
it into AI.
you could easily put
Yeah.
it in your will. So I'm saying, in terms of family, is that something you would? Because they could do the same thing that Meta's talking about doing, but would you leave that into their hands?
No. If they come out with this technology, I'm definitely adding it in my will. To absolutely not. No. Let me lay where I lay in peace, please. No. I
And
don't
that
know. I just think that's weird.
I think that technology is well on its way.
Well,
Where
on its way, it exists already. But
yeah,
it's a
so
no for me.
what I think is weird too, and I'm not a big AI person, but there was just people's conversations just like, okay, so let's just say 20 years from now you pass and they are able to collect, like you said, all this stuff, not even Meta but your family. They feed all this stuff from your social media to this engine, and now they got an Abrisha that your
It's
daughter
gonna
talks
cause
to.
we're gonna have to create a new level of trauma for that. There is so many implications around that people are not even considering. So okay, a loved one has died. Now you have a person addicted to their laptop or their computer or their phone because that's the only place they can live in their sadness, because they gotta watch this video of their person who passed away interacting with them. You know what I'm saying? There's so
Yeah,
much more behind that we never consider when it comes to AI tech. And so it's just like, even now how they're studying how a lot of the especially ChatGPT is always overly positive and feeding into your ego and stuff like that, so it's not really a almost very damaging because it's never going to tell you that you're wrong. You know what I
yeah,
mean? So if you're using it for, let's say, to gem up ideas to be the best Aryan nation, something that you could be, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is stuff that we have to consider. I always think, what's the future of that? What's that going to look like in 10 years? There's going to be PTSD traumas because now people can't let people go. You're
yeah,
going against the natural pathway of grief. you know
and
it's
closure.
okay to hold on to things, and we have our sentimentals and stuff like that, but when you get into a realm of tech where it is because the way that humans interact with screens, we already know it's changing the brain in ways as and so quickly that we have never seen. So that to we haven't addressed trauma that's based on viewership. You know what I mean? And you're
Hmm.
giving me a tool where my beloved whoever is just there constantly, and I'm just talking to it. It reminds me of that video. Um, Somebody did a short cartoon of if you could like pay for friends, right? His whole life was just a virtual friends. He puts these things on and he pays, and they always support him and they sing him happy birthday and it goes and cheer him on at his concerts and all these different things and blah 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 blah. But it's not real. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And he constantly gets these little reminders when his money or for on the app or whatever it is running low, and he's got to go put some money in, and the anxiety of trying to get home fast enough to get his wallet to put in his card number or whatever it is, so that these fake friends pop back up. That is a real depiction. You know what I'm saying? We're saying, oh yeah, it's a little short cartoon. That would actually happen. We see it. As soon as they brought out virtual games, people literally not going to the bathroom, putting buckets in their room to stay on games for 2, 3 days straight. And you think that somebody who's in the middle of the deepest part of their grief is not going to use this technology in the wrong way, that's,
Yeah.
yeah.
It
I'm not.
reminded me it reminded me of Ironheart on Disney Plus where mistakenly, but she ended up turning her AI assistants because she got like an Iron Man thing going. Her
Hmm.
AI assistants end up being her friend that died,
Died. Yeah.
and
Hmm.
so and that show had its own issue, so it didn't really get to dive into that part that much. But that was to me a real potent idea of like, should you, if you could do it, should you do it? And what you saying is true too, because it's not even viewership. Because in 2026, like if somebody passed tomorrow, we got 4K video, more than likely picture, whatever. You could watch them, and it's like, man, I remember that. I'm reminiscing. AI is a different thing where it's
Hmm.
replacing,
It's
like you
giving you
said,
exactly a false
it
sense that
it's
they're still here.
replacing that closure. It's replacing that grief. And like, yeah, like they could do the voice. They could, yeah. To me, yeah, I'm with you. It's weird and all that. At the same time, I think where I land at is I would be much like a lot of the Hollywood actors doing right now. Some are into it, but the ones that are not, they've been having their lawyers do their will to be very specific about what you can and can't do with their likeness because that's
Hmm.
now becoming a thing. So I think that's probably where I would land because I'm not 100% against this idea of using me to create something because I don't want to stifle creativity.
Well, I
But I
wouldn't
don't want.
be if the people who were creating it never didn't have ill intentions. We have to remember that this is still Big Corp who was funding it. And when have they ever had anybody's good intentions in
Well, I'm
mind?
talking about my estate. So if you
Oh,
do
okay.
you doing your estate's ability, what they can and can't do, I don't want to stifle that completely, but I do want to limit it to, because that goes on forever. And that's the thing, like you said, there's no finality to that because you could think about, okay, what would my husband, what would my kid, what would my sister do? But you're dead. You don't rewrite another will, so that
Right. I
goes
don't want to
on
be
into your
meeting
great great
my
great
I right. I don't want to be
grandkids.
seeing my great 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 grandkids as a virtual person. I'm back in my day. No. I so th- I don't
It's
know.
kind
I
of
feel like
sci-fi.
there are great ways to document family history that's tangible to be able to pass down. That's I don't feel like family history needs to be interactive. I think it should be what is in the title, history, photos, old family videos, blah 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 blah. Blah. That person should not be able to talk to me and ask me a question and something that use data that supposedly thinks like me because one, that's an error. You're using data from only a certain part of somebody's life. You don't know what they would have evolved to. You don't know what ideals or ideologies would have changed, life events that would have affected how they thought about. It's a time capsule of a person. It's not going to be authentic. One, because we
Mhm.
are constantly ever learning new things, growing. Our opinions are changing. There's just so much that I have a problem with. And also, like I said, even though we're talking about an estate, I see too much already where they're using AI in the wrong way, and the people um, are not. Yeah, they're not able to. Like that young lady who, one of the music softwares used her voice to make songs, uploaded it and did the copyright for it. And then when she, the real person, tried to say, hey, this is my stuff, they went to court about it and she lost. She lost to the AI version of herself, which she never gave permission for them to use her voice, but she don't have the money to fight these big corps, you know?
Yeah.
So sometimes it's like, even if you leave it in the hands of your estate, we all know there's a Judas somewhere. Like, say if you were a famous person, now that Judas is just out here selling you on the market, and you just, like you said, You
Well,
five
that's what
generations down because somebody done sold your likeness to, like, I don't know. It's,
that's
yeah.
why I thought it was interesting to talk about it as regular people because, like you said, even a rich homie Quan, which is kind of a not a huge name, but like you were saying earlier with Jermaine and the Jackson family, like if that's how you make your money, you gonna do it. You don't People don't
You hear
care in
me? If they had the
capitalism.
option, they would hold that option. Oh my God.
Yeah. So I thought it was interesting to talk about it as a regular person where at least as of now, ain't nobody got nothing to gain off hoeing us. So it was just like, what would you do with it? And yeah. I mean, but it's getting so sci-fi at this point because I feel like we talking about a bunch of movies that I've seen before, where
Hmm.
literally that question has been posed, but we are now at that point where this is becoming reality because yeah, it's a lot, and I agree with you. I think the real conversation is the psychological impact it has on people,
Hmm.
and more people aren't talking about that. Anyway, all right, so like we gonna get some stuff off our chests.
Hmm.
If you got anything get off your chest, I'm gonna start. I feel like I got a couple things, but I'm gonna start,
Go
man.
ahead, shoot and talk your shit, friend.
Number one, this is what I need people to understand. Um, Fandoms are becoming super annoying. And I
Mm.
need y'all to understand this. We're not sports teams. I am probably one of the biggest football fans you'll ever meet. But even within that, I understand it's still a game. But sports, okay, fine. People are treating too many things like sports. Like, tribalism is part of the human brain.
That's
I could
true.
stand behind the Bears, quote unquote. Who that is changes over time, whatever, it's just the name. But y'all treating politics and music and everything like it's sports is crazy. Like, I'm a football fan, so I can appreciate different football teams and players. But if you just a Bears fan, that's all you know, I'm just showing up for the Bears. I get it. You gonna hate on anybody that's not the Bears. But that does not and should not bleed over into the rest of the world. So we got Drake dropping Iceman. And during the beef, I'm like, these K bots, as they call them, these Kendrick fans, are the most annoying people in the world. Then the Drake drop, I'm like, these people are equally as annoying. And then just the more things that I'm a fan of, whether it's Bears, anything outside of sports, the more I see on the internet, like where you get to experience all these people who love something you love, and you
Hmm.
like, it's some douchebags in here, like some like off the
Yeah.
wall. I'm like, y'all gotta stop treating this as a sport is a zero sum game. There's a winner and a loser.
Hmm.
Music is not like that.
Yes,
Politics
facts.
is not like that. You can support more than one. The number of people I'm watching where it don't matter what your opinion is about a Drake song or Kendrick is what side you on? What side you on? Nigga, what? What are y'all talking
I
about?
call this though the sensationalism and, like, yeah, the putting everybody online and, like you said, the tribalism. I remember in our sociology 101 class, which is like your introduction to, like, studying, why people do what we do. And one of the games that the professor would do, I can't think of his name, Richard Sullivan, Dr. Sullivan, would do was like put us in these little groups and stuff like that, and then give us a task and blah 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 blah. And just that quick, you will see people becoming territorial, guarding, hell no, fuck the other team. Mind you,
Yeah,
we don't know each other. We're just 300 students in a lecture hall. You know what I mean?
yeah.
But it shows, like you said, the instinct nature to cluster and defend what we think we believe in, what we think we
Which
believe. Because mind you, the game was a fake ass game, but the
right.
fact that we were so willingly, so fastly to fall in line for something like that, well, I didn't, and I made a comment about it, and that's how I became the annoying kid in the class. But anywho, so this is I saw this like years ago when our generation was like entering chat rooms and stuff like that, and you're doing the, and then those chat rooms start to go into topics and stuff like that, and you're like always talking with people who like you said like what you like, stuff like that, and then that goes into the dark side, and then now you have places for people who have weird fetishes or different things, kind of all grouping up and going, so as soon as I knew that we started to get into these breakout groups of society, I knew that the sensationalism of that was going to be coming, where it would literally be this, because it's like the endorphins that you get from talking with people who think like you or like what you like is so craved that we constantly want to do it, right? But what we forget about that is that you're also creating intrinsic bias, and you're also basically becoming extremists mildly, but you almost do, because you're not letting anything else in to the conversation.
Yeah,
Like you said,
no, they are.
you're not letting anything else in.
That's
So
what these
now
people
when
sound
you're hitting the
like.
forefront, all you are doing is eat, sleeping, and breathing whoever you decided to sensationalize, whoever you decided to be a stan for. And it's just like you said, unplug, get out of the fucking game. Like they can both make good music. Like you don't have to pick a side.
And,
You
and
can
it's
be a fan of both.
and it's not even, for me, not even necessarily the echo chamber. It's just like I said. So like, for example, I'm a big fan of Avatar: The Last Airbender. I recently got into some online communities where I'm just like, bro, I can't even believe people that love what I love as much as this act like this. And so that has thrown me off in different ways. But at the end of the day, I'm just like, again, even with that's a fake thing. So like the bear, whatever, like you standing behind a name, a property. But when it comes to real people, I guess that's where I'm like, that's what I gotta get off my chest, because Drake is a person. You sitting here trying to defend what he does, and you trying to argue against what he does, or you like, or even if you don't like what he does and you coming over here just to argue because you're a Kendrick fan, that's so weird, bro. Like y'all weird as hell. Like
Weird as
these
hell.
is just like I get it. There's a lot to say about MAGA and all that Trump stuff, but it's the same stuff where the Republicans and Dems, we got this. Oh, we did this. We made them this. Nigga, this is not
And all of that we
sports.
stuff. Why do you have the time?
But I don't even care about that. This is not sports. Like there is no zero sum game. Y'all are acting like, and the problem with it is, like we're talking about, is when you treat it that way, then you have to be okay with whatever your side does. And that makes you become a fanatic for something that is like nonsensical. Like it's silly.
It's
Like
true.
if the Bears draft somebody that everybody like is a bum, and I'm like, hey, I gotta roll with the Bears. I'm rocking with them. I'm getting this jersey. Like that's one thing. But if you like, hey, this side that I'm on, this actual person who affects my life is ruining my life and doing horrible things, but I gotta rock with them because that's the side. No, nigga, like, no, you don't.
You would, exactly.
This ain't sports. This not a game. Like,
This
it's
is
so
real
crazy to me. Like, you sitting here bopping, tapping your toe, and you like, man, this Drake song sucks, man. I don't like this. Like, nigga, yes, you do. We don't care that you like Kendrick. It's not a team. It's so many comments I see online since these albums dropped. Which side you on? Why you bopping your head? Nigga, what? What are we? This is music. I still
haven't heard. I've only heard
like
maybe like 6 songs from the Iceman one. I haven't heard the other ones.
It just doesn't matter what you think about the songs or him or any of that.
Yeah, there's no choosing sides.
That's the thing. and that's what I gotta get off my chest. Y'all gotta stop turning everything into sports. This is not that. This is not that type of competition.
Yeah, art is subjective. You can say you like it or you don't like it, but you can't try to bully somebody into liking it or not, not liking it. Oh my God. Mm-mm-mm.
You got anything? Because I got another one.
Something in my heart, something in. So for me, the story of my life has been this. It's consistency. Saying one thing, doing another. Get the
Mm-hmm.
fuck on. That's all I got. I can't I can't deal with it. I'm having to deal with it right now with a few people in my workplace and other stuff. And at the end of the day, I'm just gonna say my prayers. But at the end of the day, you can get the fuck on with that. I don't like it. I don't like people who say one thing and do another.
Yeah.
And now because of that, I have decided to take my personality away, and everybody's feeling it because now I'm just in that motherfucker doing what I came to do and going about my. You don't need to hear about my day. You don't need to hear about my child. You don't need to hear about what I ate for lunch. You don't need to hear about the joke or the funny video I saw just now. Nothing. If it ain't about this stuff, don't talk to me. And I hate being that way, but like niggas be ruining the mood, bro. Because you say one thing and you do another. And I can't honor that. I can't get jiggy with that.
Yeah, it feels like a form of gaslighting. It makes you feel unstable.
Uh, yes. Heavy on the gaslighting.
I feel you with that, especially when it comes to work. Work is a
Mm.
whole different animal, so I feel you with that. Man.
And I'm work with a small team, so that's why I was like, mm-mm. Ain't enough of us in here for this shit.
And then the last thing I gotta say, man, which we talked about before, but these people that be podcasting, bro, like, and I get it. I get it. I think everybody showed their cards if people didn't believe it. In 2025 and 26, we know now people will do whatever it takes to get the money
Mm-hmm.
and for whatever sells. So even with all that being said, you doing stuff for certain reasons, I still have to say, y'all get on these podcasts generalizing everything based on your experience, and it's so annoying. Like,
Mm-hmm.
especially people that's young. And I don't care about that. You can pull the unk, the old head, you call them whatever. Like, everybody that's reached a certain age, my age older, we lived through and found things out, but we didn't all have microphones to sit here and talk about it like it was the new discovery of the world. And that's how some of
Right.
y'all are. Y'all get on here and y'all talk about stuff as the world is like this and it's like that. No, that's what happened to you, nigga. And that's what happened. That's what that girl did to you. As fellas, man, I'm telling you, if she doing
but
this, this is what's happening. That it was what happened to you. And the more and more y'all keep generalizing everything on these podcasts, the more we have this stupid man versus woman endless circle of arguments. Like, it's so simple to me. And I get it. Like I said, you potting, you trying to make money, you trying to appeal to the broad audience, but at some point you could just acknowledge, hey, this is my experience. But I hate listening to these
yeah.
dudes. It is mostly dudes, it's women too, but I hate listening to them just talk like, actually, so if this happened, this is what's happening. They talk like an authority. But the more
But
they
I'm trying to
talk,
figure out at what point, because it's true. When did everything become so finite? Like, what about the two generations below us, speak in such absolute? Like, is their
I
world
think
so
that's our
small that
generation. No, I
that
think
they
that's
just
ours
think
and
in
older.
absolutes? Like, what's going on that you don't realize that there's an experience outside of what you've
I
lived?
think that's every generation. I think that's humans in general. It's just like you get the person that don't need a mic ends up getting a mic now, or everybody got a mic really. I because like if you limit it in your worldview and you take that your worldview as the world, it doesn't matter what generation. That's
But
just
no,
who
I
you
don't.
are.
But I hear you. So yes, there's going to be people in every generation. But what I'm saying is, what about these generations is that it became so many of them who think so finite in that way. I feel like generations prior to, a good portion of people had an understanding that their life circumstances, like they were dreamers still. You had people who ain't never seen nothing out past a farm. These people didn't even have TVs and shit to see half the world, but they might have seen a magazine or a newspaper that had a picture of some mountains over in Machu Picchu, and they said, "Damn it, I'm gonna see them fucking mountains one day." You know what I'm saying? Like, they understood that yes, their world was something, but they had an ability to dream or envision or understand that their life style wasn't the only thing, or there wasn't the only revolving story around them. I feel like that there are less and less people each generation who understands something um, outside of themselves anymore. Even I'm in Minnesota, and I was just talking about this to some of my dance mates about how a lot of people here from Minnesota doesn't like go to Chicago for a weekend trip. It's a 6-hour drive, beaches, festivals, all the stuff that's in the summer. And not to put none of my dance mates on blast, but one of them said was like, "There's beaches in Chicago." I'm like, "You're 6 hours away. There's no way your life is like so bottled up that you don't even understand that somewhere that's only 6 hours from you has beaches." But that's really a
Yeah.
lot of people's life. When did we get so bottled in that we can't even
I
understand like a decent landscape around us? I'm not even talking
I
about like different countries. People don't even understand outside of their states sometimes. Like,
I
it's, I don't know.
honestly think that's common through most generations, and I especially I can't agree when I think of people like a Stephen A. Smith and Shannon, which are in the same world, but they just represent a lot of older black men from that generation where they hold on, and it might not be lifestyle, but philosophically and how the world works, they hold on to a very small, narrow idea of how the world works, and that's what they were taught in that generation. That's what they hold on to. It's a lot of boomers and Gen X people who think a certain way that they were taught. As far as the younger generations, I think they're supercharged with a lot of info from around the world. And so they might feel more confident in saying, hey, no, I have enough data to tell me that this is how it goes. So you
Right.
got,
I think we're saying
but
two
I,
different things. I'm acknowledging that people have like set ways, but I feel like that even within their set ways, they still had an understanding that there was something outside of their set ways. I don't think that these younger
I
generations really
don't
understand
know.
that there's something outside of their set ways.
I don't know, because like I said, if I bring up like Stephen A., who comes to my mind, I hate listening to him. He sees the world one way, and again, that's one person, but he reminds me of a lot of black men from that generation. That's how it is. You supposed to wear this, you supposed to do this if you want to get here. A lot of that respectability politics and all that. That's
But
how
I'm
they
saying,
see
do
the
you believe
world.
someone like Stephen A. cannot conceptualize that that's just
No,
his worldview and there's just other stuff going
no,
on outside of
no.
that? You don't.
And I know you don't consume him like I do. Anybody that listens to Stephen A. and that in that world, they know there's a reason people don't like him for a lot of reasons. He believes that's the way it goes. Uncle Shan, like a lot of people, and I'm not. And they, I mean, it's just that's a whole different conversation. But to me, I think it's the same result for different reasons.
Mm.
One came from a narrow point of view, one came from a supposedly worldwide point of view from the internet. But they all end up in this same bubble of like, this is how the world is. But either way, I don't even know if necessarily it's widespread because I'm talking about podcasters, and podcasters have an incentive to do that. So I don't know about the average Joe, but I know these podcasters and people that be talking. I would just be like, shut up, bro. Shut up. Like, I just. And I know Tony Baker doing that thing right now, the shut the hell up challenge, but I'm not trying to copy him, but I feel it. Like, just shut up. Y'all just be on the internet
Yeah,
saying stupid stuff. And it's not even that
it's true.
necessarily
Like Auntie
stupid.
got a mean scroll. As soon as you say 3 words and it's the wrong,
To
I'm
me,
swiping so
I
fast
just
I can't even give ear to it.
my biggest thing is that if they talk long enough, it's always rooted in something they went through. And it's
Hmm.
like you cannot project that onto everything. That's all I feel.
It's true. I agree with that.
All right. There's it. That's all. Make sure
I'm
y'all
I
like,
don't have
comment,
an ending
subscribe.
joke, so well, whose bit was that? Who ended their show like that? Well,
I think that was your boy.
Who?
Uh,
Chappelle.
no, Dion.
Oh, you're right, Deion Cole. That is Deion Cole.
But like, comment, subscribe. Come back to the next time, y'all.
Peace.